I am Dr. S. Anusha Kathieni, Assistant Professor in Department of Chemistry, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Today, I am going to present on potable water quality testing and the uses of potable water. So, the topics today we are covering are potable water and its specifications. So, first, what is potable water and the steps involved in the treatment of potable water and disinfection methods of this water. So, in detail, water is very crucial for the human health, even for all the living organisms on the earth. So, even human body consists of 65% of water. So the water which we drink should be clean, pure and safe. It should be free from pathogens, disease causing microbes or pathogenic organisms. So the water we will take should be clean and pure. So what are the things we have to do to make it clean and what are the treatments we have to do to make it useful for drinking water. So the raw water which we get from the sources like river, lakes and ponds should be treated before we use for drinking. So the raw water plus treatment gives the drinking water and it is safe to take air for drinking and cooking. So potable water. So what is potable water? Potable water is nothing but the water which we take and tested as safe for human consumption. So is also known as a drinking water. So the potable water is nothing but the drinking water which is tested and confirmed as safe for drinking purposes are called potable water. So this includes tap water, bottled water and filtered water. So any mode of filtration, filtered water and it should be considered as safe for drinking purposes. So and other pure water also considered safe for drinking and food preparation purposes. So the water quality, potable water and its quality. So it fall under three categories. First, physical quality, then we will test for chemical and followed by biological. So the physical category includes color, odor, TDS and TSS. TSS is nothing but total suspended solids. So it is nothing but the total suspended solids. And turbidity. So these fall under this category. Color, so the color of the water and the odor of the water. So the color of the water depends upon the source of water samples. So and coming to the odor depends on the salts or chemicals or pollutants dissolved in the water gives the taste to the water. So if it is a sulfate contaminated, it gives a pungent smell. So depends upon the chemical composition of the composition of the water, the odor and color of the water will definitely change. So if it is TSS, total suspended solids and turbidity, this also depends upon the nature of the water and the source of the water from where we are getting. So coming to the chemical, so the pH of the water, again it also depends upon the chemical composition. So if it is more OH minus ions or alkaline compound, then it gives the pH will be more than 8. And if it is more, if the source is from the acidic areas, so if the pH will be less than 7. So TDS, total dissolved solids. So it also depends upon the solid content of the water, chemical composition of the water and heavy metals. So the contamination, heavy metals are nothing but the metal ions which are considered unsafe to take even in low levels. Example: mercury, cadmium, zinc, chromium, arsenic, copper, lead. So these are considered as heavy metals. Sometimes the industrial effluents are treated chemical plants release the treated water or untreated water or chemical effluents and chemical contaminated water into the outsource waters. So the from all these sources the heavy metals enter into the water systems. So it may travel to the ponds, lakes, rivers. So this cause serious health hazards in human beings. So these organic compounds, heavy metals, all these from the industrial, mainly from the industrial effluents. So this causes the serious health problems in waters and human health. So biological. So in detail we are going to see in the next slide. And biological. So bacterial coliforms, E. coli, viruses, protozoan parasites like viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, all are considered as pathogens. The term pathogen name itself is so which cause health effects and which cause disease causing organisms are called as pathogens. So here potable water and its quality. From where we are getting these type of heavy metals, organic compounds, undesirable metals or substances. So certain heavy metals are having so much concern they can harm the humans even in very trace levels. Trace is nothing but the very low exposure levels. So the contaminated water with with heavy metals such as mercury, lead, cadmium, arsenic, nickel, chromium and zinc are the major health concerns of the public. So it may be from the power plants. So where from the power plant the effluents are mixed with the outsourced water, again it causes problems. It may be from the biomedical waste and industrial effluents through mining and electroplating, electronic waste and agriculture activities are volcanic eruptions. This may be the from the so these are the main source of heavy metal contamination in the water. So the whatever the source, but the water should be this is raw water or metals present in the water should be treated in a proper way. The water we get and it should be removed all these metals or undesirable substances, then only it is considered safe for drinking. So the potable water and its specification. There are separate specification for drinking water. So generally BIS, European Standards, ES. BIS is Bureau of Indian Standards. European Standards are Indian Standards. So these are all the standards which we will follow for. Even for packaged water it will be different and for drinking water it will be different. So these are the specifications. So the water should be clear, colorless and odorless. It should be free from any color and odor. So the turbidity should not exceed 10 ppm. So the turbidity is nothing but the suspended particles. So it should be not less. It should not exceed 10 ppm. So it should be less than 10. So that is a TDS. It should not exceed 500 ppm and the hardness of water should be 125 ppm. 125 mg per liter. So it should be 125 and the pH should be pH and P7 to 8.5. So it should be neutral to alkaline. So the water should be free from heavy metals like lead, arsenic, mercury, chromium, manganese and dissolved gases like hydrogen sulfide and sulfate. So the water should be free from also from biological organisms or disease causing organisms like pathogenic microorganisms. It may be viruses, fungi, bacteria or spores. It should be free from all these biological pathogens. So it is the standards. So as we discussed, the potable water has its specific standards. So Indian standards of drinking water is IS 10500:2012. So it is the standard which we follow in India. So they have some specifications like the color should be, the desirable limit will be there and remarks will be there. So it should, if we see here, mercury should be less than 0.001. So it should be in very trace levels. The only if the drinking water follow this criteria, then it is considered as safe for human consumption. So the calcium should be 75 and total hardness should not exceed 300. pH should be 6.5 to 8.5 and turbidity should be 10 and color should be 5. So nitrates, if these are all like manganese, chlorides, nitrates, sulfides, fluoride, phenols, mercury, cadmium, everything will be there. So it should be pesticide free and no radioactive elements should not be there, and it should follow this criteria. So again for packaged water, this is IS 14543. So we will follow this specifications. There the specifications will change slightly for packaging purposes. So here for Indian standards like 10500 will have this type of specifications. The drinking water should follow or should satisfy the specification, then only it is considered safe for human consumption. So before, these are all the contaminants we are getting. So this is potable water and its specifications. So this is the treatment way to get the water. So first, water from precipitation, watersheds and groundwater. So it is the source. So those source water, generally what happens, first enters into the screens to remove all the debris. So the debris is removed. So again it undergoes flocculation. See here, water is flowing here. So the debris is removed from here. Then flocculation happened here. So the larger particles settle at the bottom of the tank. Then it enters to the filtration. Then the chlorine added and here disinfection. So the chlorine is added. So any pathogen causing organisms are there means will be removed here. Then distribution to the houses. So if we see here, clearly it will show. So the first step is here large debris. Large debris are particles removed here. So here settling. Flocculation is settling and remove small debris, slit and microorganisms. Again filtration through screens. So again disinfection. Here disinfection is nothing but the chlorination process where microbes or pathogens are removed. Then to the house supply. To the households. So this is the way of treatment for drinking water purposes. So the first thing screening, then sedimentation, third is coagulation, fourth is filtration, fifth is disinfection. So here screening, first thing screening, then sedimentation. Here what happens, the water is allowed, see water entered, the water is allowed to settle for some certain period of time. So the larger molecules get down into the water tank, then it was settled, then it was filtered using these filters, again filtration, again disinfection. So here coagulation, then filtration, again disinfection, again distribution. So this is the process for used generally for treatment of water, drinking water. So the type of treatment is given to water largely depends on the quality of raw water. Definitely. So the quality of raw water, based on the quality of raw water, the treatment process will happen. So also upon specified standards. So first thing involved is removal of suspended impurities. So the suspended impurities means which are floating on the water, which will be removed by screening. So the water will be passed through the screens. So having number of holes like net. So where floating materials are retained. It's like straining. So here the water with more suspended impurities were allowed to pass through the screens with a number of holes, like it's like a net or mesh. So what happens? The water will pass through and the remaining material which is floating on the water will be collected on the filters. So here here in this step we removed all the suspended impurities which are seeing with our naked eye. So this was removed through screening. Next, sedimentation. It is a process of allowing water to stand for a longer time without undisturbing in a bigger tanks with about 5 meters depth. So where the most of the suspended particles will settle down due to the gravitational force at the bottom due to the force of gravity. So due to this, all settled down at the bottom of the tank. Then it was again allowed to filter through the pipes. Next thing is coagulation. So here the coagulation, sedimentation and coagulation is the process of removing fine suspended and colloidal impurities. This is by the addition of some coagulants or chemicals to water before sedimentation. So here what they will do, so the colloidal suspension, if we see here dots, so what happens when coagulant or flocculant was added to this water, it got like a curdles or precipitates. Again, it will settle at the bottom. Then clarified water is pumped through the or purified water is pumped through the pipes from these tanks. So, what are the coagulants? Coagulants, when added to water, form insoluble gelatinous flocculant precipitates. These are the gelatinous flocculant precipitates. So, when it was added, gelatinous flocculant precipitates were formed in the tanks. Then it was allowed to settle for the long settle at the bottom of the tank. Then the purified water is pumped from the tanks. So, what happens with which descent through the water, absorbs and entangles very fine. So these slimy layers absorb more suspended particles in the water and forming bigger flocks or bigger slimy layers which settle down easily. So what generally these coagulants are sodium aluminum oxides and plus water gives rise to aluminum oxide, aluminum hydroxide plus sodium hydroxide. Again aluminum silicates plus calcium bicarbonates will give aluminum hydroxides plus calcium sulfate plus carbon dioxide. So example alum. Alum is nothing but the aluminum hydroxide. This is the sodium silicate, potassium silicate alum or sodium alum or iron sulfate H7H2O will be used for as a coagulants or flocculants to form a slimy precipitate which absorbs more suspended particles and is easily allowed to settle at the bottom. Then it is easy for the removing of fine suspended particles from the water. So the next thing, the aluminum hydroxide floc causes sedimentation. Sedimentation is nothing but the settling down. The sodium hydroxide thus produced precipitate magnesium salts such as magnesium hydroxide. So if magnesium sulfate was added, then magnesium hydroxide plus sodium sulfate will come as a byproduct. This can be filtered. So the filtration. So the process of removing this. So whatever the precipitates or colloids formed in this step are removed by filtration method. And most of the bacteria, microorganisms by passing water through a bed of fine sand. Here the filtration was done through the sand filters. If we see here, so suppose here coagulation or flocculation and sedimentation happened. Here. So what happens? The water will have some flocculants. So this was allowed to pass through a filter. So the filter will consist of sand, soil coarse gravel and water outlet. So the water should pass through all these steps. Okay. So first is sand. So what happens through a fine bed of sand and proper sized granular materials? The sand filter consists of a thick layer of fine sand placed over coarse sand layer over first sand, first coarse gravels, so soil coarse, again soil. So it was allowed to pass through all these layers of soil and coarse gravels. So and it was provided with the inlet of water. If you see here inlet of water, here the water will enter from after filling this, the water will enter from this to the filter. So Sedimented water entering the sand filter is uniformly distributed over the entire fine sand bed. So it was allowed to flow to pass through the sand filters. The water will uniformly spread through the sand. Then during filtration, the sand pores get clogged because the sand will have some pores. So when these impure waters or flocculent water allowed to pass through, what happens? The holes present on the sand particles get clogged. So due to retention of impurities in the pores, what happens? It got blocked due to the impurities present in the water get clogged. Suppose it is soil sand, so it have some pores. What happens when water pass through? The impurities present blocks the soil pores due to retention of impurities of the pores. So when the rate of filtration becomes low, what happens? All the sand particles clogged means it won't allow the water to pass through. So when the water retention becomes low and about 2 to 3 centimeters of the soil sand layer is scraped off. Scraped off is nothing but the removed and replaced with clean sand, and the filter is ready to filter more water and put back to use again. So the filter is ready to get more water. So another method is removal of microorganisms using boiling or disinfection. So disinfection, the process of destroying or killing the pathogenic microbes, the disease producing bacteria, microorganisms, etc. from the water is called, the process is called the disinfection. So this can be done by boiling. So at higher temperatures, the bacteria viruses can't tolerate higher temperatures. So when water was boiled, then it got killed. So and water becomes safe for use. So it should be 10 to 15 minutes. The boiling should be 10 to 15 minutes. So when we boil 10 to 15 minutes of water, all the microbes present in the water killed. So bleaching powder. So bleaching powder is, the purification is achieved by dissolving 1 kg of bleaching powder in 1 kiloliters of water. 1000 kiloliters of water. So the bleaching powder was added in 1 kg, was dissolved in 1000 kiloliters of water. So it causes killing of microbes. So the dissolved water produces a powerful germicide called hypochlorous acid. So it produces disinfection action and kills germs. So this is calcium chloride plus calcium hypochlorite plus water gives rise to calcium hydroxide plus calcium plus chlorine. So again water reacts with the chlorine, gives HCl plus HOCl germs. Germs are killed and then water we will get is pure and safe. So again another method of disinfection is chlorination. Chlorination is the process of purifying the drinking water by producing a powerful germicide like hypochlorous acid. So when the chlorine is mixed with water, it produces hypochlorous acid. Here when water is mixed with chlorine, here HOCl is hypochlorous acid. This is a germicide. So this is capable to kill the microbes. Chlorine, water. So water mixed with chlorine gives hypochlorous acid, which is a germicide and capable of killing more microbes and organisms, pathogen causing organisms. So the chlorine basically pH value is more than 7. So the disinfectant it is a disinfectant and is much effective over the germs. So hence chlorine is widely used all over the world as a powerful disinfectant. So the chlorine is used widely in the world because it is a good disinfectant. It will work effectively over the germs. So the chlorinator is an apparatus. The apparatus which we use for this treatment for the disinfection or chlorination is called chlorinator, which is used to purify the water by process called chlorination. So what happens here? Chlorine gas is this is the chlorine gas is passed through the water then it got mixed with the water, results in the formation of hypochlorous acid, and hypochlorous acid is a germicide which is more effective on the germs and kills all the germs and microbes present in the water. So ozonization. Ozonization is also a process and it is also a disinfectant and here ozone is used and ozone is readily dissolved in the water. So ozone being unstable decomposes by giving nascent oxygen. Then what is nascent oxygen? Actually, oxygen exists in three forms. First, monoatomic, diatomic, triatomic. So these are the three forms of the oxygen. So the monoatomic is nothing but the nascent oxygen. So this is O. Diatomic is O2. Triatomic is O3. O3 is nothing but the ozone. So diatomic is the thing or the gas which we are taking as a air. And monoatomic. This is most unstable oxygen atom. So here we are using O3 which gives oxygen atoms. See, O3 gives O2 plus nascent, O is nascent oxygen which is most unstable and it is having the capacity of destroying bacteria. So the nascent oxygen is unstable and destroy bacteria. So that's why we are using this ozonization process using ozone. This is ozone. Triatomic molecule. Ozone gives oxygen plus nascent oxygen which is capable of destroying the bacteria. So the nascent oxygen removes the color and waste of water and oxidizes the organic matter present in the water. So how it oxidizes? Because it is most unstable. So the organic compounds present in the water, it easily get oxidized and then it will be organic matter free and color and taste free. So it should be undesired odor, taste, organic compounds, bacteria, all removed using this ozonization process. So the next thing, breakpoint chlorinator. So the breakpoint chlorination is a controlled process. So here we will where the chlorination should be stopped. So this is what we are seeing in the breakpoint chlorinator. So as we know, the chlorination is a process of removing all the chlorine when mixed with the water. It will give hypochlorous acid which removes microbes and bacteria or pathogenic causing organisms because hypochlorous acid is more effective on the germs, that we know. So where to end this chlorination process? So in this process, suitable of chlorine is added to the water. Why? In order to kill the bacteria, microbes present in the water and to oxidize the entire organic matter and to react with free ammonia and chlorine required should be appropriate. So breakpoint determines whether chlorine is further need to be added or not. So where we don't know whether all the organisms killed or not. So where to end this step and how much chlorine has to be added. So this is what we are doing in the breakpoint chlorinator. So by chlorination, organic matter and ammonia, chlorine and ammonia and to kill the bacteria. So organic matter and disease producing bacteria are completely eliminated. So which are responsible? Mainly these are the main sources for the bad taste in water and bad odor in water. So by adding this chlorine, we are removing undesired taste and bad odor of the water. So when certain amount of chlorine is added to the water, it leads to the formation of chloroorganic compounds. This chlorine go and react with the organic compounds present in the drinking water and forms chloroorganic. So raw water will have organic compounds. What happens when chlorine reacts with? It gives chloro-organic compounds. And chloramines. Chloramines. When it having amines like ammonia present in the water, it may be in the free form or NH3 form or nitrates. So what happens? Chloramines are formed. So the point at which free residual chlorine begins to appear is termed as a breakpoint. So they will test for the chlorine. So suppose here iron manganese nitrates are there. Again ammonia, trihalomethanes, monochloroamines are all combined with the chlorine, where here in this reaction they will check for the chlorine. So when the chlorine was keep on adding, they will get all these chloramines, chloroorgano compounds, and these organic compounds will react with the chlorine, and the chloroorganic compounds and chloramines are formed. So when it start giving free chlorine again, so we are keep on adding this chlorine. So the chlorine residual is increasing. So when the water will have free chlorine, it was tested for free chlorine, then they can consider it as here if we see chlorine, we won't get chlorine because it started reacting with all these amines, right? All these organic compounds and all the ammonium compounds, free ammonia, it started reacting. So there won't be free chlorine there. So once all the compounds completed in the water, it started releasing free chlorine. The whatever we are adding, it started releasing back into the water. So once the increase of free chlorine increased, then it is considered as a breakpoint chlorination. So at that point, this here if we see, it started increasing from here. So this is the break point. So after that, no point in adding chlorine again into the water. So this is the break point chlorinator. So these are the disinfection process, and the water for getting the pure water or drinking water, we are following all these steps like sedimentation, flocculation, coagulation, filtration, and then for disinfection, then distribution to the household things. So this is the steps involved in the filtration process, and these are the specification for water quality parameters. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.